going to quickly introduce everybody. Here we have Giulia Giovanelli, who is the president of Hamelin Brands North America. Giulia is at the helm of the launch of Hamelin's first line of smart products in the US that bridge the analog and the digital worlds with a free app, Scribsy, and which feature high-quality innovation and design. Hamelin's mission is to meet the ever-changing needs of today's amazing young students.
Thank you.
Next, we have Yvonne Lo, who is the co-founder of BuddyPhones, the world's leading kids headphones brand. She started the company after looking for high-quality, safe headphones for her own kids and wasn't able to find them. It's a real mom story, you know, when you can't find it, you just make it.
Yep.
And then finally, we have Michelle Meyers, who is the president of global market, vice president. Oh, I just gave you a promotion. Vice president, global marketing of Minelab. So Michelle is responsible for creating and accelerating Minelab's marketing strategy and brand recognition around the globe. So cool, Minelab's detecting technology is used by family adventure seekers, professional treasure hunters, outdoor enthusiasts, and military and police forces around the world. So it's the real deal.
Thanks, April.
Minelab is an advocate of bridging technology with the outdoors in their new line of metal detectors, including their new Vanquish series. And yes, I'm April Hussar. I'm the managing editor of Romper.com, which is the leading online destination for, we say millennial parents, but it's really for every parent who's raising a kid in today's world. As I was coming in, I passed that big mural that maybe I'm sure a lot of you have seen a bunch of times on the way from the Venetian into the Sands, and it says, "Want the world." And it's just on this like big, beautiful background, and I need to go take a selfie in front of it. But it really resonates with me as a parent because I want the world for my kid. And as parents, we also want the world to be for our kids. And part of that is really helping them learn the tools and the skills and get the education that they need to navigate the world that it feels like it's expanding even as it's getting smaller because we're so connected. So I'm just really excited to have this conversation with you guys. And thank you for having me. Oh, I'll take some applause. I didn't drink of water. So thinking about the world, let's focus on, we'll start with the world of the classroom. So obviously this generation is digitally native, we know that. A recent Gallup poll found that 89% of students in the US from 3rd grade and up say that they use digital learning tools in school a few days a week at least. So Yvonne, how do you maintain the benefits of analog forms of thinking and communicating while being tech forward?
I think in the learning aspect, you still need the basic fundamental tool of teaching. Let's say you're learning a language. You still need to listen to your teacher to say the word, to memorize the sounding of the word, or to memorize what the character looks like. So from our standpoint, you know, we will enhance the learning process through helping the teacher making their process a little bit more efficient. So for example, learning language. They still, now, they still listen to the teacher to talk, to understand how the words sound, like let's say learning Chinese. And then instead of having a one-on-one vocational testing, they now speak it into a application where they record that particular sentence. And then therefore the teacher will go home and correct the exam in that way. So instead of a one-on-one exam, and which much longer process, it helps make it more efficient for the teacher aspect. But at the same time, you still have that basic fundamental of teaching in a traditional way.
Right, so without losing that traditional method.
And then, that's why we also developed tech is needed to kind of enhance the efficiency of education as well.
So a follow-up question for you. How does the physical mode, as I'm trying to read my notes, how does the physical mode of handwriting play a role in this increasingly digital age? I only write something down these days like twice a year or so.
Well, have you ever noticed that when you write something down, you remember it better?
Yeah, definitely.
So when you're actually writing down something, you're using different neural processor. And so it's still having an analog, having paper and good quality paper notebooks is a really key important aspect in learning. There was a study done by Pamela Muller and Daniel Oppenheimer that talked about the pen is mightier than the keyboard, in which they did, and they looked at how note-taking was done in classrooms versus longhand versus typewriting. And what they found is that when students wrote out their notes, they used less words, but they used more of their own words. And when you do that, you actually encode the information better than if you're typing. You can type a lot of words out, but it's verbatim, and you're not getting that full processing. So writing is still a key element in learning and being able to connect the dots of what you're being learned based on what your own experience is. So you may not have as many words, but you'll have more meaningful words. So that's why it's important to take a notebook into a meeting, into a classroom, and really writing it out.
Definitely feels like an art that's being lost, though.
From what we have seen in the market, it's not really that true. People really personalize their notebooks. They care about it. It's something. It's part of them.
Bullet journaling,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Bullet journaling is one aspect of it on the journaling side. But even students that we actually did a lot of focus groups with, we asked them what was their favorite notebook, and at the end of the study, we showed them some samples, and they hugged it, and they're like, "I'm taking this with me," because it's a part of them.
So. A lot of recent studies have shown that in many cases, having technology in classrooms, at least as it's being implemented today, is not helping. And in fact, in some cases, it seems to be hurting. So there are a lot of examples, but there was one big study where 8th graders who took Algebra 1 online did much worse than their peers that took it in person. And 4th graders who used tablets in all or almost all of their classrooms had reading scores that were on average 14% lower than their peers. So, Michelle, I'd love to know from you, why do you think this is, and what needs to be done differently?
Sure. So considering most students' learning styles usually fall into the visual, auditory, or tactile learning style, we also need to take into consideration, are we helping them with their digital learning style? So are we setting them up for success? Do they have the right tools, or do they understand the digital learning that they're going into? Do they have the skills or resources at home? There's a huge digital generational gap at home in terms of supporting that. And as parents, we need to figure out how to support that. But I think most importantly, and something we need to do differently, is kind of take a step back and make sure that we're setting our educators up for success. Because I think they have been really forced to engage with this technology side.
Absolutely. Well, sort of related to this, Yvonne, there's a common fear that screens and tech are isolating. So how do you feel that tech actually inspires and promotes collaborative learning?
Well, this is personal experience. My kids these days are, you see them in the iPad, they're gaming, all kinds of stuff. But I think, as a parent, we also need to kind of be open to the fact that they will be using tech, they will be in that space. So but at the same time, I also find it very interesting that we open topics that, if we don't know a specific topic, or, who is, my kids just realized who is Madonna, So we just decided to like Google who is Madonna, and then they're like, oh, who is Madonna married to? You know, so I'm like, I don't know. So let's Google. So we just ask, you know.
Right.
So
And
it's
something
a
that you're
tech
doing
that
together.
instead of even typing, you say, hey Google,
Yeah.
how old is Madonna? And then boom, right there, you find out. So and then it opens topic that you normally might be, you know, you might need to like, oh, let me go find out. But then, you know, a dinner conversation could be in a whole another level. So you kind of have to, sometimes you embrace it, but I think, you know, you also need to, you know, start learning how to monitor them or give them guideline or even at a young age to teach them how to use it properly. So yeah, I mean, it could be isolating, but if the parents are doing it together, or even though you're watching YouTube, you share the audio together and be inclusive into it and try to understand. I can never understand how to do Fortnite, but I have to figure out, you know, how to do that. But those are some of the things that, you know, we have to learn, and I think we need platforms for parents to kind of embrace that topic and to kind of share the ideas of how to embrace it at the same time, give them guidelines.
Absolutely. Did you have, I felt like you wanted to.
No, I agree with you. It's like you can have information at your fingertips at all times, but if you're making it more inclusive, it can almost, you can kind of bridge that. You can kind of stop it at the same time because you're interacting with your child.
Right, right. So going back and forth between this world and the world here.
Right.
Because they're both worlds, right? In a recent survey commissioned by Groupon of 2,000 US parents, nearly 80% said that they wanted a tech-free holiday this last December. But kids, on the other hand, they don't even see the world in digital versus analog. They just see it as integrated. So where do you see a gap between what kids are experiencing and what they want and what they expect, and what parents want and expect, and how are you filling that gap?
Sure. So considering there are more tech devices in one's home than there are household occupants, I think we as parents need to kind of bridge that technology between technology and the outdoors. And so Minelab is really championing to get more kids and families outdoors, utilizing metal detecting as an opportunity to do that. I mean, there have been so many advancements within this area in terms of tech that they're not your grandfather's metal detectors. They're not heavy. So they're easy to use. They're very portable. They're lightweight. So this is an opportunity to get those kids outdoors hiking, whether it's hiking, walking along the beach, but it's another activity so that you're bridging that digital and analog world together.
So it's not a tech-free holiday, but it doesn't mean that it's it exists only on a screen.
Exactly, exactly. I think there's really some great ways there's very positive ways to use tech, and I think we as parents need to champion that.
Yeah. How do you feel like the industry is addressing just that fear or that concern that parents have about there just being there's too much screen time, there's too much tech in the classroom, at home?
Well, I think it would be, we can't eliminate tech from the classroom.
Right.
We shouldn't.
We don't want to.
We don't want to do that because, I mean, it's important. It's going to continue to keep us competitive in the market. But integrating, but not forgetting the importance of the analog or the physical. And how do you combine that? Like at Hamelin, we've created tools like note cards, flashcards, traditional flashcards that all of a sudden become also digital flashcards. So you have kind of a combination of both. Because you can't just go, it's interesting, so Professor Oppenheimer that I mentioned earlier, he was discussing that if you told somebody to type out a story and write out a story, you're going to get two completely different stories. And when you write out the story, you're going to have much more of creative. You're going to have much more creative vocabulary in there, and because it takes a little bit longer to write it out. But there are certain times where you need to just type it out, where like a memo, it's fast. So it depends really on the goal of the classroom. And we have to trust in the goals of the classroom and what we need. So it has to be a good combination of both. Writing can't be taken away, spelling needs to still be learned.
Yeah. Even though there's spell check.
Even though there's
never learn how to spell a restaurant.
But sometimes we depend so much on spell check
Yeah.
that, you know, minute and minuet are two different things,
Yeah.
but they kind of look alike. So, I mean, it's important to have the basics down, and then you can kind of build on that.
Yeah. I have no idea how much time we have. Does anybody know? Okay, I'll just keep going. I'd love to talk about the importance of discovery learning, which is where students are given an opportunity to seek information that satisfies their natural curiosity. Michelle, how does this play into your product development and your company philosophy?
Yeah, so great question. So a lot of our product development, I mean, we take great pride in servicing and providing technology to the U.S. military. And so we've taken that technology, pared it down into retail units. And that technology, really, we need to make things as easy as possible. Again, so many devices in our household. We don't have time to read huge manuals. So making something that's easy to use, but taking that technology and again, making sure that our families are getting outdoors, working with our kids so that we're bridging, you know, we're marrying the digital and analog worlds together. And it's really finding that inner curiosity that all of us have. Because if you think about it, we all have this inner Indiana Jones in us, right? So we've all got that sense of adventure. And it's really kind of getting outside, getting our hands dirty, if you will, still.
So fun. I remember like the one time I ever got to try a metal detector, you know, and I was a kid and was very upset that I didn't discover buried treasure, but just the possibility of that happening is such a thrill. Giulia, it's becoming increasingly true that the digital and the virtual is as important or as real as what's happening in the physical world. So what trends do you see emerging with this new decade that we're in when it comes to products that are being developed in this industry and for this audience?
Well, again, it's the whole idea of combining and bridging, like you were saying, bridging the analog and digital. They are digitally native, like you said earlier. You know, these kids grow up with a cell phone practically in their hands. They're born with one, and they can use it. But at the same time, it's the idea of how do you take something that is very important, like a notebook or cards, and how do you improve on that so that you can give the students accessibility to all of the information? How do you give them the best tools possible so that they can succeed? Because today's generation, this Generation Z, is a very serious generation. You know, they're out there studying. They're even taking classes beyond what they have to take. So, and then they're very involved in society around them. So we have to be able to provide them with the best tools, and giving them a notebook and flashcards with a digital component to it really gives them more flexibility in their learning so that they can succeed.
So you just see more that just happening more and more as the decade goes on, we'll see more of this integration.
Yes, exactly. And listening to what students need.
Right.
And paying attention. You have to keep up and kind of keep up with what the technologies are and what they're using. And how do you improve on that?
Yeah. I'd love to know from each of you, if we have time, I don't know, does anybody know what time it is? Oh, there, it's behind. Okay, so great, so we have time. So before I go to that, Yvonne, I wanted to ask you if you think that there's any danger in introducing technology too early to kids.
I think you need to, I think potentially there is a certain age range. I mean, baby, I mean, I don't know what is the importance of, you know, shoving a phone in the face. But I think one of the things that we need to learn as a parent is to protect them with tech that are specifically made for children. One of the things that we do as a company, we have been preaching to parents that 1 in 8 children these days have hearing loss because they're using your headphones.
Wow.
That is something that is, before I even know about using kids' headphones, I have no idea. You just, back in the days, my mom just tell me, don't turn it so up, don't turn it so loud and stuff like that. And hearing loss is irreversible. So what we do is we want to preach to parents that you want to feed your kids organic, the best quality food. Why would you, and tech is something that is gonna be here forever. So I think you need to teach your kids at a young age how to use tech properly, how to use the right technology, and protect them. And volume limiting is something that is very important to children. And especially as a young age, 3, 4 years old, they're exposing to tech. And I think it's a perfect age to introduce tech to them, but at the same time also teach them the importance of how to use it responsibly.
Right, how to...
And then I think as they learn it as a young age, like my kids has been using now, of course they are like embedded in their head, you must use my product, Right. But now they're...
You can extend that to others.
Yeah, but now they're getting to the age that, oh, I want the adult stuff. But at the same time, when they're using the adult stuff, oh my God, it's actually really loud. So actually they have a self-consciousness of, protecting them and not turning up so high. And I think as a parent, that's, I think, the most important responsibility. And as a kids tech product company or audio company, I think those are some of the things that we have to be responsible to.
It is so important that as we teach our kids how to cross the street and how to eat well, it's like just as important that.
And I think having tech in their life these days, it's getting, before 5 years ago, but I talked to so many people, they were like, I just don't give them iPads.
Yeah.
But then now it's like,
Doesn't last very long.
it doesn't really work this way anymore. And I think it's inevitable that if they don't get it at home, they will get it at school from learning, because schools has one-to-one technology these days. So instead of just avoiding it, let's just give them something that is proper, that is safe and responsible. And I think then in that case, then I think it's no harm really.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to know from each of you if there's something that was either really surprising or just like especially interesting that you discovered as you were conducting research, for product development. Do you have something?
I do. So, we spent a great variety of time, making sure we talk to our end consumers. We take into consideration environments the product's going to be used in, how long the product's going to be used for. But the one thing I think that surprised me the most in all the market research we do is customers, at the end of the day, no matter how technical they want the item to be, they want it to be easy to use.
Yeah. Don't want to have to try and read a big manual or... No,
they just want to turn on a quick video and just give me the quick 1, 2, 3, and I just want to know how fast I can start going out and using the product.
Yeah.
For me, we realized that industry standard for adults is not good enough for kids. So kids are the worst consumer ever. They break anything, no matter how tough you make it. So that's, over the years, we learned that our cables has to be 10 times as stronger than any other normal adult headphones. Now I go to school seminars. They're like, now the cable has to be broccoli flavored and chew proof because they chew all the cables.
Yes.
So these are some of the little things that we learn in product development, and not only product development standpoint, but really day-to-day interaction with teachers, parents, and the end user, and find out what are some of the key most important things that parents and teachers look for. And we keep on re-engineering our product and realizing that kid tech is actually 10 times more in terms of the quality. You need to make sure that they're 10 times better, and also a certification, all that kind of stuff. It's that much more critical for us.
I would say for us, number one was the frustration that kids had with the commoditized notebook in the market, how cheap it would get. They would, they complained about the paper quality and the covers ripping all the time and the spirals coming undone and a lot of the research that we saw. And we found that there was a really big gap in the market throughout time, getting cheaper and cheaper. So we kind of address that issue within our products, but then also the importance of how kids learn. And how we all learn, actually, not just kids, but how our brains work in learning and memorizing and trying to really encode information, and how we can use a digital app to be able to really assist in that kind of process. I think that was the most fascinating part, both of those combined. How do you create like a really good quality product that had the right formula of quality and digital and analog, and how do we marry them together to make something really exciting?
Kids are discerning. They want high quality stuff. They know. They're just people. They're little people who chew on everything. But exactly. They want it to be high quality. Yeah. I think we have a few minutes. Does anybody have a question for any of our panelists? No? What else could we talk about? Is there something that you've seen at the show that is inspiring you for future ideas or thoughts about sort of how your products integrate with what else is going on in the world?
I think we're always thinking about AI, right? Like how can we use AI to help us, with product advancement? Mm-hmm. So, nothing has really stood out right now, but I would say just from the AI standpoint, that's something that is really, I think, intriguing that we need to keep our eye on.
Yeah, I saw some games that you play, like you can have your iPad, but then it's this sort of mat that goes under it. Obviously I'm not a tech writer, like terrible description, but you play a game, but that has, kind of an AI element to it. So it's happening in reality, but it's like has such dimension and depth to be able to go into. So there's just all kinds of stuff like that happening.
Right.
It's really exciting. Yeah.
I think interactive exercising machines is really big this year. I love the mirror that, you look at the mirror and then the instructor's right there and stuff like that. I think, and then they will detect all your, how much calories you burned today, what did you do today, and I think it's getting more and more personalized. And it's actually getting more and more inexpensive too. So it's definitely very interesting. I like that.
I tried to win a Peloton yesterday. I didn't win. I was very upset. Try again.
Well, I agree with you. I think there's a lot with the interactive. How do we get more hands-on with the technology and kind of bridging everything?
Because we have less time these days, right? Exactly. So it's like we're all trying to cram 10 million things in one day, and so I think that's what technology is going to. It's kind of how to do more in less time, but then you have to the other spectrum. Well, now I need to meditate more because I'm too stressed.
Yeah, but there's an app
so
for
it's all come full circle. More tech, and then you have to go back to basic.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been great, and thanks so much for having me.
Thank you all for being here. Real quick, before they leave, can we cue the slides? Start with Hamelin. Is there one thing that you would like to say about possibly your award that you just won?
Oh, I know. We were very excited. We just won the Parents Magazine CES Choice Tech Award for the notebooks and the flashcards.
Awesome.
So we're really excited about that.
Hamelin has been a great support of ours and one of the actual sponsors of the Young Innovators to Watch, which is coming up next. So do not move. Do not get out of your seat. Real quick, we can't miss Yvonne's video. It's the cutest video we have. So we're going to let you cue up your video and play your video. And then, Michelle, you get to show your slide.
Excellent.
Okay? And then we'll exit.
No, we just encourage you to come to our booth and find out more about the technology advancements that we've made in metal detecting. And we're at the Sands at 44599.
Perfect. Thank you so much, ladies. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.